Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Come here, come. Okay.
Makyantimandasya Gyananjalusulakaya Chakshurmilitam Dena Tasmai Shri Gurve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manupustam Stavadam Minutani Swayamupakaramayandharati Swavadatikam Namah Vishnapada Krishna Vista Buddhani Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityanamani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gurvani Pachaini Nivishesha Shunivani Pusatani Vanshakapa Tuvishya Kripa Sinavevacha Paditanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Bhavanityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasadi Gaurabhaktavranda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So every day I'm thinking they must be sick and tired of me by now. But no, some people are again here. Amazing. And there's even more coming. More amazing. Okay, so who am I meeting the first time? Anybody who did not come the other evenings? Yeah, okay, quite a few. Okay, good. Do I have to introduce myself or you read?
We read.
You read? No, let's not waste time. Probably everybody has read on the little thing there. I mean, maybe I can add a few things like I did the first time. Oh no, I mean, most of you will come tomorrow, will you?
Yes.
Yes? You will all come tomorrow? So then we'll keep it for tomorrow, because maybe tomorrow there may be more people who I haven't met, right? Yes. Because sometimes I tell a little bit about my time in Bangladesh, how that transformed my whole practice in preaching and so on. But I don't want you to get bored with hearing the same thing every evening, you know, so we'll keep it for tomorrow. Okay? So let us maybe immediately dive into our topic. Oh, but there's people sitting so far away, almost hiding there, so you can have a peaceful sleep and I don't notice it. No, please. Yes, I'm a personalist, you know. Even move your chairs closer while keeping this big distance here. You know, social distancing, the time is over. Pandemic is over, you know.
They're embarrassed.
Yes.
Whole focus is on you.
Move your chairs closer. Yeah, this creates such a better energy, you know, when people sit close, rather than hiding in the furthest away corner there, you know. Okay. Good. So we're getting there. Yeah, just come closer.
I was just telling them you're vegetarian, don't you?
Yeah. I'm not biting, so yeah. Yeah, this is so much nicer.
Yes.
And if there's maybe more people coming, do we have a few more sitting places? No, but on the floor,
Yeah.
the floor. Yes.
They're all squeezing.
Oh, there's some more chairs coming. There you go. Yes, because not everybody is so comfortable sitting on the ground. Yes. Yeah, I mean, I need to bring 50 chairs now. Oh no, they're getting pots. Okay. All right. Let's settle down and let's start. So today's topic is the power of forgiveness, right? Yes.
Yes.
This topic of forgiveness, I dare say, this is hopefully relevant to all of us, because I'm sure we all have this experience when we keep some grudges, you know, and when somebody did or said something to us 20 years ago and we still remember, and we hang on to these grudges in the heart and we can't let go, we can't forgive, and so on, you know. So yeah, this happens quite a lot actually, and yeah, it actually blocks us, you know. Very often when we don't forgive, or let's say when we forgive, we actually think we do the other person a favor by forgiving them, but actually we forgive for our own benefit. Yes, we will discover this today. So already in the previous sessions, I was mentioning how the primary quality of humility manifests in all kinds of secondary qualities, right? Yes, like tolerance, like respect, or patience, or forgiveness. We can see them all as secondary qualities to humility, right? In other words, a humble person will be tolerant, will be forgiving, will be patient, will be grateful for anything and everything, right? But a proud person will never be grateful or patient or tolerant or whatever, you know. So yeah, that's how it is all connected, you know, that it is all connected with tolerance and humility ultimately. So yesterday we were talking, what was the topic yesterday?
False ego.
False ego, that's right. And first evening? Envy. Yeah, so they're actually all connected. Yes. We mentioned that envy, false ego, they're good friends, they always like to move around together. And false ego is the root cause, making us think to be something which we are not. So, and as soon as we think we are the enjoyer and we want to enjoy life, then envy enters like that. So now, forgiveness is actually connected to the quality of tolerance. Yes. Only when we cultivate tolerance can we be forgiving. And the inability to forgive is actually based on a lack of tolerance. Yes. There is even a nice statement that Bhaktivinoda Thakur makes. And he even, he even puts tolerance and forgiveness as being equal. You know? Yeah, in the book Chaitanya Shikshamrita he says, giving up the desire to punish a person for committing an offense, that is called forgiveness or tolerance. So he almost uses these two terms like synonyms, you know. Yes. So this is a nice, definition, if you want, what tolerance is. So, you know, if somebody does something nasty to us, then we feel we have the right to punish them for that, and retaliate. You know, just do something bad to them in return. So, and giving up that desire to punish a person for committing an offense towards us, that is called forgiveness or tolerance. You know? So it makes it very clear how this forgiveness is based on the ability to tolerate. Yes. So this kind of means we should first get some little insights into the quality of tolerance. So I want to divide the session in 2 sections. First, I want to give some little insights into tolerance, and then I want to go through some forgiveness meditations which I put in the False Ego book. Yeah, which makes it a bit more clear what this whole forgiveness is all about. Yeah, so tolerance is actually one of the most important qualities to cultivate when it comes to bhakti. It's almost like the criteria to measure a person's spiritual advancement and strength, and how tolerant a person can be. Yeah, like the famous examples, how Haridas Thakur, Prahlad Maharaj, you know, they're the embodiment of tolerance, right? Yes. Yes. So now, of course, let us remember in Bhagavad Gita 2:69, Krishna says, what is day to the common person is night to the introspective sage, and vice versa. So in other words, you know, the worldview of a spiritualist and the worldview of a materialist, they are as different as day is from night. So that means what is success in material life may very well be an obstacle on the path of bhakti. You know, we know the picture of the perverted reflection, right? What is highest in material life becomes the lowest in spiritual life, and vice versa. What success in spiritual life is seen as what? In material life? Huh? Failure, being a loser. Yes, yes. So the quality of tolerance is a good example for this, you know. With spiritual vision, it's glorious. Wow, this person can be so tolerant, look at that. You know? But then, for materialists, it's a weakness, right? Yes, it's seen as a weakness. What? You tolerate that? I wouldn't tolerate that. Forget it. I'm walking out. I get divorced. Who am I to tolerate this nonsense? You know? Yeah, you hear it quite commonly, even amongst devotees. And I say, yeah, because that conditioning, again and again I'm saying it, you know, the materialistic conditioning is very subtle, very strong, very deep. Even though we may be coming from India, you know, but being here a few years, you just accept, you know, what's the conditioning here, what's the mood here, the propaganda, you know, it's all influencing us in very subtle ways. So that's why very easily we also accept this idea that tolerance is a weakness. You know? Yeah, so that's you know, a few thoughts about tolerance. I have written down, because I don't have much in my head, I write it in my verse book. Whenever I come across some interesting statements, and there's so many. So in Bhagavatam 1:18:48, it says there, the verse says, The devotees of the Lord are so forbearing, which is another word for tolerance, I guess, that even though they are defamed, cheated, cursed, disturbed, neglected, or even killed, they are never inclined to avenge themselves. Wow. That's tolerance. Very high level of tolerance. So, defamed, yes. Ooh, that's a challenge for the false ego, when our reputation is ruined, what will everybody think of me now? Oh my God, that's a challenge. It's a challenge, we're all very concerned about our image and what people think and all that. Or when we are cheated, this is also a challenge for the false ego. False ego cries for justice and fairness and so on. It's interesting to observe, like in the material world here, when some terrible crime was performed, somebody got killed or something, then usually the relatives, they can't be peaceful until the person is punished, locked up 30 years in jail or something. Okay, so now they kind of feel to some extent peaceful, of course not completely because the loss is always there. But because that is such a provocation for the false ego. If some crime happens and the person is not getting punished, then the false ego is really rebelling and protesting and wow, this is unfair and he should be killed and so good to understand it's actually just the false ego's demands, wanting justice and fairness and all that. Cursed are modern Kali Yuga. Curses are not that powerful anymore, thank God. Disturbed, neglected, that is also a provocation to the false ego, when we are ignored and neglected and not nicely treated or something. So even if we face all these situations, Vaishnava never inclined to avenge themselves. Yes, that's the Vaishnava. And there's also another statement in the purport in the 11th canto to 1 verse that says tolerance means to patiently endure unhappiness, such as that provoked by the insults or negligence of others. That's also a good definition. So, when we are insulted, that's also a bit of a challenge for the false ego, or neglected, to patiently endure such kind of unhappiness. That's what it means to be tolerant. Not easy. And the only thing, yes, very clear, why is this tolerance such a criteria for spiritual advancement and strength? Because, it means false ego is subdued and dissolved, right? What makes us, or what makes it difficult to tolerate is the false ego rebelling, protesting, complaining. That's all it is, actually. So, and if a person cultivates tolerance, it means he or she has already worked, in the heart there, did some internal work to let go of the false ego's demands. So yesterday we talked about that a fair bit, so that means there's already some purification happening and some advancement. And the ultimate way to tolerate is really, to escape by taking shelter of the Lord. That's what happens. Yesterday we were talking about the nonsensical stage performance. Prabhupada calls life in the material world a nonsensical stage performance. So, if we remember that, we can say, anyway, it's just all a part of the nonsensical stage performance. Thank God, my relationship with Krishna, this cannot be taken by anything, even not by death or cancer or whatever we may be facing. My relationship with Krishna, eternal reality. And everything else is just a part of the crazy circus here. So, and if we have that vision, then we can tolerate, because we are escaping into eternal reality. And we don't allow the nonsensical stage performance to affect us. So the more our relationship with Krishna is actually tangibly established and becomes more and more reality, the easier it is to tolerate. So that's what Haridas Thakur understood. So now, sometimes people say, yeah, all right, but how much can we tolerate? How much? And or people say, when I tolerate, then all this negativity builds up in me, and sooner or later I explode or I get sick or whatever. So let us understand that, if the negativity builds up in ourselves, that's not tolerance. Then we are simply suppressing things. So there is a difference between suppressing and tolerating, cultivating tolerance. So suppressing is never the solution. Doesn't matter what we try to suppress, even material desires or whatever it may be. Suppressing will never get us anywhere. Yes. So, we may be in a challenging situation and we think tolerance means I just bite my tongue, shut up, suppress things within. But then inside, the ego battle is to continue. And false ego is rebelling, making its demands. Oh, they shouldn't have done this. Oh, unfair. What? You're not going to complain? Come on. So the whole ego thing is continuing. So that's not tolerance. That's simply suppressing. And then, of course, the false ego is trying to complain, and it's building up until we explode or get sick or whatever. But we cannot call that tolerance. No. Tolerance requires some internal work. And there's two tools we need to have in order to cultivate true tolerance. So the first tool is just waiting until you're settled. Okay, it's more comfortable up there. I can understand. Yes, so the first tool is that we have the approach. Actually, I'm such a rascal. I deserve so much worse than this. Krishna is so kind. He only gives me one drop of what I really deserve. Right? Yes. So what quality do we have to have that approach? I said it already in the beginning. Humility, exactly. Just to make sure you're with me here. I'm not just dozing off or something. Yes, humility. We need at least a little bit of humility to understand, actually, Krishna is very kind. I'm only getting one drop of what I really deserve. So that approach is the first tool. And then the second tool is that we see Krishna's hand in the picture. That we can connect any situation we may be facing with Krishna's arrangement, Krishna's hand. That we ask ourselves, what is Krishna trying to teach me? After all, not a blade of grass is moving without Krishna being in control. So he must have some reasons. He must be trying to teach me something. It's not a coincidence. There is no coincidence. So what is he trying to teach me? So seeing Krishna's hand in the picture, that's actually what it means to be Krishna conscious. Yes. Very easy for us to see Krishna's hand in the picture when everything goes great and our mind and senses are pleased and satisfied. Oh, then it's all Krishna's arrangement, right? But when things are challenged, oh, then it's not so easy to say, oh yeah, Krishna's arrangement, you know. Yes. And sometimes I come across this, that even, you know, seriously practicing devotees for 20 years, they've been doing their puja to Lord Jagannath every morning, but then something happens in their life, something completely unexpected, and they just can't even see Krishna's hand in the picture. They can't. And they get all worked up and angry and agitated and try to, you know, defend and justify and rectify and whatever. Yeah, so sometimes our spiritual practice can be very external, you know, that we just externally go through the motions. But yeah, the internal work may not be there. And I guess that's why Krishna sends us some little tasks, some little calamities, you know, to test us. So how much can we see Krishna's hand in the picture? You know? And yes, by the way, as we continue on our path of devotional service, the tests become more and more heavy. So you better get ready. Because to uproot the subtle anarthas, that, you know, Krishna has to get the shovel out, you know, to dig a little deeper there. Yeah, so the tests usually get more intense, just to uproot the more subtle things. You know? Yeah, so, and to see Krishna's hand in the picture, what does that require? We have to have something.
Faith.
Very true, you got it right. Usually it takes people a while to get it. Yes, yeah, we have to have faith. Unflinching faith. Yes. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that's the currency by which we can purchase Krishna. Faith. Yeah. Just the other day, where was I? In Tampa, I think. We were talking about exchange rates and transferring money. And then this devotee asked me, oh, what's your favorite currency? Do you know what I said? Unflinching faith. That purchases Krishna. He didn't expect that answer. He thought rupees or euros or something. Yeah, so unflinching faith. If we have unflinching faith in Krishna and in Prabhupada, nothing can shake us. Yes, nothing can shake us. No, no. But if that faith is not there so strongly, you know, because, yeah, well, it's gone, so many things happen, you know. By the way, I hope this will not shake your faith if I share this, but I have the third Diksha Guru. My first two Diksha Gurus, they're not Diksha Gurus anymore. So when I joined in Australia in 1985, my first Diksha Guru was Bhavananda. Bhavananda Maharaj. He was the zonal Acharya in Australia and New Zealand. I had first and second initiation of him. He's mentioned in the Leela-Rita, he was pretty close to Prabhupada. He's still around. I see him every year practically in Mayapur. He's involved there with the TPT. But he's not sannyasi guru or GBC anymore. He had to step down. So then I took one time re-initiation of Prabhu Vishnu, former Swami, now Prabhu. Same thing happened after a few years. You Prabhu, you're a Prabhupada disciple, right? You know these personalities, Prabhu Vishnu.
I know Bhavananda very, very well.
Okay, what about Prabhu Vishnu?
Not so, because I was always based in New York.
Okay.
But Bhavananda was
Oh yeah,
GBC.
Bhavananda was involved in
Yeah, I was the TP in 55th Street and Skirmalin Street, so Bhavananda was there.
Yes, Prabhu Vishnu Prabhu, he's from Ireland. He didn't.
I know him,
Oh, you do know him?
and he knows me.
Okay.
We're not close.
Okay, yes. Yes.
It's
Yes, so yeah, he took me further. So and then he had to step down. And then I took one more time, re-initiation of His Holiness Niranjana Swami. But yeah, interestingly, all three personalities were the right person at the time. My whole life would have gone completely different. I would have never ended up in Bangladesh if it wasn't for Prabhu Vishnu Prabhu. He was the GBC there, and he asked me to come to Bangladesh and preach. So, there would be no books, no Institute for Spiritual Culture, nothing if it wasn't for him. So it was meant to be like that. But yeah, the reason why I'm sharing this is that we need some faith in Prabhupada. Because let's understand our Diksha Guru is connecting us with Prabhupada. It's not ending there. In our worship, it doesn't end with our Diksha Guru, but no, he is the connecting link to Prabhupada. And we have to be firmly connected to Prabhupada, and we have to develop unflinching faith in Prabhupada. And then nothing can can shake us, But if that connection with Prabhupada is not strong, then, well, so many of Bhavananda's or Prabhu Vishnu's disciples, well, where are they now? They lost faith and they left. Yeah, so going back to forgiveness, tolerance, humility, and faith in Krishna. That's what we need to actually cultivate tolerance. And if we, approach challenges and calamities in this mood, actually I deserve so much worse, Krishna is so kind, and what is Krishna trying to teach me? What's my lesson here? There must be some reason, So that will quieten down the false egos, demands, if we do that internal work. Whereas if we simply suppress things, that will not do anything, Yes. Let me turn to these forgiveness meditations. Let us go through them a little bit. And then we also want to leave some time for questions. All right. Yes, so let us begin by remembering that life in the material world will always confront us with so many unexpected disappointments and hurtful situations, right? Unavoidable. This is life in the material world. So, and our relationships will definitely be filled with more joy and harmony as we learn to forgive and move on. Right? It is extremely important. So I'm sure we all know about Nelson Mandela, right? The freedom fighter in South Africa. So he is saying, as I walked out the door from the prison, he was in jail for quite a few years, as I walked out the door towards the gate that would lead to my freedom, I knew if I didn't leave my bitterness and hatred behind, I would still be in prison. Yes. That's what the inability of forgiving does. It keeps us in prison. This hatred and bitterness and the grudges and hanging on to them and not really freedom. And another thinker discovers, I never knew how strong I was until I had to forgive someone who wasn't sorry and accept an apology I never received. We can forgive others not because they deserve forgiveness, but because we deserve peace. That's often what we think, that this person doesn't deserve that I forgive them. Right? We think we do this for others, but no, we actually mainly do it for ourselves. Yes. Because we deserve peace and we want to move on. Yes. The truth is, unless we let go, unless we forgive ourselves, that also can sometimes be a challenge to forgive ourselves. We may have done a real blunder, a real foolish mistake, or falling down from sannyas ashram is considered worse than death. So we may have done something really foolish and then we may not be able to forgive ourselves. Again, it's the false ego whispering in our ear. How could you do this? My God, your whole reputation is ruined. And. Because the false ego demands that we look really good and perfect and then when we make some mistake, the false ego is harassing us because we can't live up to the false ego's demands and satisfy the false ego's demands of looking really cool and good and successful and so pure devotee and all this. So to forgive oneself can also be a challenge. And again, we have to say, Krishna is trying to teach me something here, to be a bit more humble and to understand I'm not as great and advanced as I always thought and all this. So like that we have to learn also to forgive ourselves. And unless we forgive the situation and others around us, unless we realize the situation is over, it's done, whatever happened, we cannot move forward. That's the whole thing. And I've mentioned it a few times yesterday and the day before, importance of a mentor, a counselor. When it comes to this ability to forgive, we may also need the help of such a confidential, well-wishing friend who tells us, hey, listen, it's over, it's done, whatever happened, happened. So just let go, move on, don't hang on to it. And so we may need a little bit of help because we may be so affected, as we said yesterday, the bigger the false ego is, the less we see it, the more it blocks our ears and our intelligence and. So, we need help. And such a confidential, well-wishing friend can save our spiritual life. Yes, because very easily we can just walk out and as I mentioned yesterday, it happens quite a lot, that there's some disagreement with the management, with senior devotees, sometimes even with guru, one can have some little misunderstanding, or we may find it difficult to accept what he is instructing us, or whatever, Very easily we get offended. It means we take shelter of the false ego, and then we fade away, we stop coming. I don't want to go there anymore, forget it. Not me, and. So, but alone, how much, chance do we have to practice by ourselves? Material energy is so strong. So if we don't have association, very easily we will be washed away there by material energy. So mentorship, so important that we have this person in our life where we can really share our heart. We don't have to worry that this person will use something against us or that the person will not keep things confidential. This is one of the main challenges these days, that people can't keep things confidential. They blabber to their friends and even that I was wondering, how is it, why do people not keep things confidential? So even that is connected with the false ego. Because we want to be the one who breaks the news to somebody. Oh, guess what? Such and such told me. She didn't tell you? Well, she told me. I know about it. And I am the one who tells you. But make sure you keep it confidential, don't tell anyone. And then the person does the same thing. Oh, have you heard? Oh, she didn't tell you? Oh, well, I know. Really, you don't know? Okay, well, I'll tell you. But don't tell anybody. Keep it confidential. So we want to show off that we are special. We know something that the others don't know. That's what's behind it. So next time, when you share something that you should not share, you try and look in your heart, you introspect and you realize, yes, I want to show off how special I am, that I know something that you don't know. All right, forgiveness is not only something we do for other people, we also do it for ourselves, to get well and move on. Forgiveness doesn't excuse their behavior. That's also what we often think, that when we forgive, it means you're excused. No, you're not. But it prevents their behavior from destroying our heart. That's what forgiveness does. Yeah. We simply protect our heart from being destroyed by this ongoing negativity there, Yeah. Maybe it is not always about trying to fix something broken. Maybe it's about starting over and creating something better. Forgiveness is when I give up my right to hurt you for hurting me. So that's similar what Bhaktivinoda Thakur says. Yes. We feel we have a right to retaliate, and if we give up that right, that's what it means to forgive. It is not about letting someone off the hook for their actions, but freeing ourselves of negative energies that bind us to them. You know, that's what happens if we don't forgive. Then this negative energy continues to bind us to that person. Yes. So, by forgiving, we are freeing ourselves of that negative energy, actually. So we definitely do it fast. Forgiveness does not erase the bitter past. Yes. So it doesn't mean we forget. Oh no, we do remember what that person did. You know? But it actually changes the way we remember things. We remember it without that negativity, without that bitterness, without that pain in the heart. You know? But we still remember. You know? Yes. A healed memory is not a deleted memory. Yeah. Instead, forgiving what we cannot forget creates a new way to remember. That's what it does. You know, without that bitterness. We change the memory of our past into a hope for our future. Yes. Relationships get stronger when both are willing to understand mistakes and forgive each other. Especially good for married life. We can offer a prayer. My dear Lord, if I hurt others, give me the strength to apologize. And if people hurt me, give me the strength to forgive. So what's more difficult? To apologize or forgive? What do you think?
To forgive.
It takes a strong person to say sorry and an even stronger person to forgive. I dare say it does. I mean, even saying sorry is sometimes not easy. You know, often we may have this, that both sides expect the other person should say sorry first. You know, a whole ego battle of who says sorry first. No, the other person should apologize. Both sides are waiting for the other person to apologize. Or people say, I'm sorry, but... and you know, but, so it's this lip service, you know, I'm sorry, but actually it was all your fault. Yeah, so such kind of apology is, of course, not really melting the heart. But usually, you know, if there was some dispute amongst devotees, if we honestly say, oh, I'm sorry, then usually the other person's heart immediately melts also, and the person says, oh, actually, I'm sorry too, and actually it was my fault. Yes. Forgive those who have hurt us, betrayed us, or broken our heart, for they have helped us to learn about trust and the importance of being cautious when we open our heart to others. So, you know, if somebody misuses some information or something we are giving, well, rather than blaming the other person, we should actually blame ourselves. Well, I was foolish enough to say this to the person, so I better be more cautious. You know, so in every situation, there's some lessons for us to learn, even if we are so caught in the right or something. There's always something we can learn. To forgive is not always easy. At times it feels more painful than the wound we suffered. To forgive the one that inflicted it. Right? Yeah, the false ego. That pain of being offended, it's the false ego being in pain. We can almost feel it as a physical pain. And yet there is no peace without forgiveness. When we forgive, we heal. When we let go, we grow. Yes, if we can't forgive, we're actually becoming stagnant. We can't move on and we can't grow. Forgiveness is about recognizing that staying resentful creates an active echo of the pain the offender caused. By saying that the awful offense the offender did is beyond forgiveness, we give them the power to keep their offense alive in our heart. We give the offender continued power over us. That's what's actually happening if we don't forgive. We give that person the power to ongoingly affect us with this negative energy there. Forgiveness begins with the mind recognizing that there is a truthful logic in how the past cannot be changed. But happily the present and the future can. Eventually, forgiveness progresses to the heart, with the heart deciding it will no longer allow the offender's pain to take permanent residence. Eventually, the heart and mind together recognize that the choice to forgive is both logical and spiritually uplifting. So, some little food for thought on forgiveness. Yes. So, let us see if we have any questions, since it is once again a practical topic.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for the wonderful session.
This is not switched on.
It is.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Putting it too close.
Okay.
So in the beginning of the session, Mataji said like the material success at the top is the bottom of the spiritual. So, but in Bhagavad Gita they also say like when you do a lot of piety, you are born in austere or like the aristocratic family, or like you have more material wealth. So they're kind of contradicting in my mind. So if you can like help me.
Yeah. Well, there's two kinds of scenarios when a person is born in an aristocratic family. So it can be as a result of previous spiritual practice, and that means, hopefully, that the person has enough spiritual advancement already not to be allured by that wealth.
Okay.
Yeah. But then there is also simply karmically, people are pious, doing some pious work or something, which may not be connected with actual spiritual practice and bhakti. So, and they may also take a very, birth in a very wealthy family, but they may misuse that wealth completely just for sinful activities. But nevertheless, safe to say this here. There is one purport. I have it in my little verse book.
Should I switch it up?
No, it's all right. It's not one of those super controversial ones. Yes. Yes, this is 1:26, where Queen Kunti prays for the calamities to come again and again. This connects with our tomorrow's topic of chanting the holy name in preparation. Let me read this. I copied a bigger paragraph from the whole purport. Prabhupada says, actually the Lord's holy name has such powerful potency. But there is a quality to such utterance also. It depends on the quality of feeling. A helpless man can feelingly utter the holy name of the Lord, whereas a man who utters the same holy name in great material satisfaction cannot be so sincere. Oh my God. Hello. Just see how dangerous material satisfaction is. And aren't we always striving for material satisfaction? Yes. I actually have to admit I feel more comfortable in places where there's less material satisfaction, like Bangladesh. Or before the war started in Europe there, one of my favorite places was Ukraine. Yeah, I've been involved there for over 20 years. Such an amazing community, Ukraine. People are pretty poor, very simple, but they're so fired up, so devoted. And even now in the war, a few people left, but many are staying there. Just now again, when I was in Mayapur a month ago, I met this family from Kiev who I know, husband, wife, 2, 3 kids. And I thought they would come to stay in Mayapur. Oh, we're going back, we have our altar, forget it, we're preaching, so that's the spirit, So they have their programs there, even though the bombs are raining, Sunday program, everything, Yes. Yeah, Kiev temple is, they get about 800-900 people for the Sunday program. Yeah. And that's all locals. There's no Indian bodied people there. They're all locals. Because you may think, Swami also has these big crowds on his yatras or something, but but in the Western world, this is very rare. Before the war started, we had these famous Bhakti Sangam festivals. Maybe you heard about them. I was there every year for about 20 years. And there was about 12,000 devotees coming together for 5 days. Yeah. Whole day was seminars, and in 6 venues parallel. Sometimes I was parallel to 4 swamis, 5 swamis. I was thinking, oh my God, nobody would come. But because there's 12,000 people, I still had my 300 people there in the audience. Yes. People, So seminars all day, and then the most amazing kirtans in the evening. So anyway, Ukraine, good example when life is a little, when you feel like you sit on a pin cushion or something is pricking. This is the best for spiritual life. Anyway, let me continue with this purport. We haven't finished yet. Yes. Whereas a man who utters the same holy name in great material satisfaction cannot be so sincere. A materially puffed up person may utter the holy name of the Lord occasionally, but he is incapable of uttering the name in quality. And now it comes. Therefore, the 4 principles of material advancement, namely high parentage, good wealth, high education, and attractive beauty, are, so to speak, disqualifications for progress on the path of spiritual advancement. Heavy, you know? Yes, because these opulences, these material opulences, what do they lead to? Pride. Look at me, I'm so wealthy, I'm so highly educated, PhD, I'm professor, and bodily beauty, and aristocratic family now. Very easily we get proud, you know. And material satisfaction, you know, how can you call out in helplessness if you're situated in material satisfaction? You know? Not so easy, impossible actually. You know? Any of you have been to Australia? Yes. So, because I joined there, I lived for quite a few years in Australia. Every second sentence in Australia, what do people say? No worries, mate. Right? She'll be alright, mate. No worries, mate. No worries, mate. So, you know, with a no worries, mate attitude, how can you feel helpless? It's all no worries, mate. You know? Impossible. That's the situation, you know? Yeah, so, is that answering your question?
Yeah.
But I don't want to discourage you here, because I know you're all pretty comfortable here. Comfortably situated in material satisfaction. Yes, but good to hear this, you know, and also good to remember my latest book on the past ashram, you know, sooner or later you should get all out of your comfortable situation, like the great kings were doing, Yudhishthira Maharaj and you know, Peter Maharaj, they were walking out of their palace, you know, yes. So, if you can do that one day, then you're on the right frame of mind there, you know, yes. So all of you should get a copy of this Vanaprastha Ashram book there, you know, just to plan your retirement. Okay, what else?
Thank you, Mataji. I have one more question. So, because you always, like, when we read and all, hear those words again and again, but we don't actually understand what actually it means, and you have been interpreting it very nicely. So I have, like, one Bhagavad Gita verse line that I always think, like, I did not know what exactly it means. If you can put some light on. That when Krishna says to Arjuna that Mamekam Sharanam Vraja, like before that he says that Sarv Dharma Parityajan Mamekam Sharanam Vraja. So when he says that to leave all the dharmas and take shelter of me. So if you can explain the what does he mean by leaving all the dharmas?
Well, he doesn't say we should give up our duty, you know, but we should give up all kinds of other spiritual religious practices, you know, and simply surrender to him. Like, for example, all the demigod worship, you know, many people coming from India, they're pretty attached to all the family traditions of worshipping whoever, and you know, yes. I mean, many people, if they're not so ISKCONized yet, you know, they do the rounds on the Sunday. They go to this temple and that temple and the other temple, and just to make sure they don't forget anybody. And keep them all happy, you know. It's the same in Bangladesh too, you know. they all go to Lokanath Baba and this thing and Ram Krishna Mission and then ISKCON is also in the line there. You know? Yes.
Thank you so much.
And I mean, ultimately, yes. You know, I mean, Krishna gives us the perfect system of the ashrams. So every phase in life has the duty, you know, and so and so. And then after family life is another ashram. So and then also we're giving up. It may look like, oh, we're giving up our dharma to, take care of the grandchildren and all this, you know. Yeah, but then very often when people don't have the education of the Vanaprastha ashram, especially the ladies, they start all over again with family life with the grandkids, you know, going through it all again. And then the grandkids become the whole purpose and meaning in life, you know. But they think, oh, this is my dharma, I have to take care of them. So we can be the saintly grandma giving blessings, some little Mahabhasharam from some temple somewhere, you know, but then, yeah, we move on, you know.
Thank you so much.
I have a question and a story that just came to mind when what you just said there regarding, okay, now I'm a father, now I'm a grandfather, etc. The attachment goes on and on. Narada Muni went to Lord Vishnu. He was such a compassionate, pure devotee. He goes to Lord Vishnu and he says, I've just been on earth and so many people are suffering. Why do you allow them to suffer so much? And Lord Vishnu said, if you go there and you tell whoever, if they want to come to me, I'll allow them to come in. And Narada was ecstatic. He said, oh, this is wonderful, you know, carte blanche, free ticket to Vaikuntha. He goes back and he starts telling people, you know, come with me, you can go back to Lord Vishnu. No, I have this and I have that. Then he goes door to door, and no one's responding. And Narada Muni's like shocked. No one's responding. No one wants to go to Vaikuntha. Everyone's so comfortable, like you were saying. They're so comfortable with their cow and their kids and everything. So finally, Narada Muni comes up with one person, and the man says, "Look, he's a young man." He said, "Yeah, I would like to go back to Vaikuntha." He said, "But I have one condition." And Narada Muni says, "Fine. What's the condition?" He said, "I want to have a son." He said, "It's a burning desire, you know." So Narada Muni says, "Okay, get married and have your son." So that happens. He said, just give me 4 or 5 years with my son. Narada Muni says, "Okay." In the light of eternity, it's nothing. Comes back 4 or 5 years later, and the man says, "Well, I want to see my son graduate high school." That's only a certain amount of years. And Narada Muni goes, "Okay, in the light of eternity, that's not so bad." Narada Muni comes back at high school graduation, and the man says, I would like to see my son get married. It's my duty." Narada Muni said, okay. So when the man's child gets married, Narada Muni comes back again and he said, "I would really like to see my son's kids." And Narada Muni said, "Okay, all right, you're going to see your son's kids." Narada Muni comes back when he's a grandfather. He said, "Well, I really would like to take care of my grandchildren and pat them on the head and see them." Narada Muni said, "Oh, okay. I'll come back when you're done with that grandparenting." Narada Muni comes back, the man dies. So Narada Muni has mystic potency. He knows where that soul went. He's not going to give up. He takes birth as an insect in the drain pipe of his daughter-in-law's house, so he can still eat her cooking and see the family. So Narada Muni goes back to that soul in the insect body. He said, okay, come now. Look at your condition now. He goes, wow, I'm still enjoying my daughter-in-law's cooking. I don't want to go. Narada Muni says, forget about it. He takes the insect. He goes back to Lord Vishnu. Lord Vishnu greets Narada Muni. And Lord Vishnu said to Narada Muni, did you learn your lesson? Even he's an insect and he's still resisting. So that was in keeping what you said so perfectly. The question may arise, is there any instance at all where one is justified in not forgiving?
Where one is justified to what?
Not forgiving. Is there
Not forgiving.
any instance that one may say is it's justifiable that you don't forgive in this particular instance? That's a question that may come up.
Well, I mean, after this whole discussion, we hopefully realize that we forgive for our own good. You know, so what could be the justification to not, you know, do us ourselves the favor of letting go and move on? What could it possibly be? I mean, that question only comes up if we still think we forgive for the other person's sake. But once we actually deeply understand that we have to forgive for our sake, so we can let go and move on, we can heal, you know, we can cut that negativity which still binds us to that person. So why would anything, you know, be justified not to forgive? Isn't it? I mean, I can't think of anything.
There's a story, there's only one devotee that Prabhupada kicked out of the movement. And I grappled with this for a long, long time until years later, I actually heard the full story. And what happened was Prabhupada kicked out because it was a grievous philosophical deviation. And I never heard, you know, Prabhupada ever saying, come back to the story. But then years later I heard the devotee was actually there with Prabhupada. And 2 days later, Prabhupada said, find out where he is and try to bring him back. But that was never part of the story. It was always that because of this grievous philosophical deviation, Prabhupada kicked him out, and he was the only devotee.
But that doesn't mean he doesn't forgive.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Yeah, he is. That Prabhupada kicks him out for his good.
Right.
So he learns the lesson, so he wakes up. You know?
Right.
Yes. Prabhupada is not offended. Prabhupada is beyond offended, being offended. You know? Yes. Yes. Prabhupada can forgive anything. No, but the way Prabhupada deals with every individual is for their good, for their benefit. So, and yeah, to, you know, chastise or kick him out. But then, yeah, Prabhupada is always wanting to welcome people again or something. Yeah, no, Prabhupada is beyond that feeling of being offended or something. Because it's based on false ego, and Prabhupada is beyond false ego. Do we have any other questions?
Narayana Prabhu, I have Man Prabhu.
Yeah.
Okay, then
Okay,
you have to
okay.
talk too.
Yeah, I would just put a comment here and one question online. Is the act of the reincarnation system is forgiveness, because we get another chance to come back. Because the whole system of reincarnation is forgiveness. I mean, Krishna giving us another chance, you know, to come
Yeah.
better, closer
Yeah.
to Him.
Yeah.
Yes, there's a question online. If you can give an example, for example, maybe he did not hear the whole class. If you can give some example of act of forgiveness. Act of forgiveness. How do you, can it be mental, can it be physical, the different circumstances?
Well, it's a matter within the heart. All right? That's the main aspect of forgiveness. We have to do that internal work of truly letting go and not following the false ego's demands of hanging on to it. So it's not that much of an external thing, right? But it's an internal thing.
Let's say, for example, sometimes we think about somebody and in our mental we can make commit an offense.
Say it again, I can't understand.
Sometimes we can make a mental offense.
Mental.
Without even the person does not know that we have offended them mentally.
Yeah.
Right? For example, here can we do a mental, prayer? It's not a physical act. For example, if we offend somebody verbally or physically, then we have to go in front and ask, beg for forgiveness.
Yeah, well, now we are talking about the act of asking for forgiveness, right? And not about forgiving. So the question was the act of forgiving. So now I'm saying forgiving is a whole thing within our hearts. Right? It's not so much an external act. But we have to truly let go. That's the whole thing of forgiving. But from the other side, yes, we all know if we have committed an offense, the only thing to rectify it is to ask for forgiveness. Right? So that's the other side of it. Right? But even if people don't ask for forgiveness, still, we should forgive for our own sake.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, and the act for becoming free from an offense, that is to ask for forgiveness. Right?
Thank you.
Now Narshi Prabhu, then Man Prabhu, then I will come here. Sorry.
So many questions.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for wonderful class. There are a lot of takeaways and so many statements you mentioned is worth noting it down. One question is related to the answer you gave to Mataji's question. There it was mentioned that somebody who is, in every way he is good, like his health is good, he is wealthy, then it is he doesn't have that sense of urgency or feeling in the chanting.
It doesn't feel helpless. Yeah.
So, but somebody who is in the situation, definitely he feels helpless. So how to create a helpless situation, although we are not helpless? How to go into that?
Krishna is pretty expert in that. So that's why Krishna sends us calamities every now and again.
But generally, like when we are not in calamity, how can we develop that mood so that we can chant helplessly?
Well, we'll talk about that tomorrow. Tomorrow is about chanting.
That means you have to come tomorrow.
What else?
Question from Man
Can you hear me?
Kind of.
Okay. My question was, you mentioned unflinching faith.
Yes.
How does one cultivate that? Like, does it come naturally to you, or do you have to work at it and cultivate? Because
Yes.
I see a lot of people here who have that unflinching faith. I don't. Okay, I'm very straightforward in that. And I sometimes envy the faith that my wife and others here that show. But how does one cultivate that unflinching faith in the face of some of the things that you might have gone through?
Okay. Well, first of all, it is a question of association. So if we associate with serious
I have associated with them, but I'm still not. So maybe some fault with me, but still I'm just saying that I do have the association here, but I still lack faith.
Well, anyway, association is a big part. And then also, let us avoid those things which destroy faith. Right? We have to avoid those things which would destroy faith. So faith actually, Bhaktivinoda Thakur compares it to a newborn baby girl. You know, baby girls are usually a little weaker than baby boys. So the faith of a young devotee, new devotee, is compared to a newborn baby girl. So it has to be protected and nourished. So we nourish our faith by regular hearing. That's really important. Hearing from self-realized souls, which connects with association. And we have to avoid, all kinds of activities or persons who can damage our faith. And one main and foremost thing that really destroys faith is prajalpa, nonsense talk, criticism, fault finding, rumors, getting involved in all kinds of things which are outside of our circle of influence, and hearing all kinds of criticism. That's really damaging to our faith. And a lot of that, as I mentioned the last couple of days, happens over the internet, over social media. Yes. So the more we can stay away from that, the better. I was sharing already, I am living without a mobile phone. One reason is because of that, because I want to protect my faith from all this nonsense talks and rumors and criticism and all that.
And followers.
Huh?
And X number of followers.
And X number of followers. Yeah, so I dare say, you still listening?
Yeah, I'm still listening.
Okay. I dare say, if we hear from self-realized souls, we read Prabhupada's books regularly, that gives faith. Hearing, reading Prabhupada's books, in good association, discussing it, that will strengthen the spiritual intelligence. And also as we connect with Krishna through serious chanting, through serving with heart and soul, Krishna also responds, he reciprocates, he shows himself more tangibly to us. And he does so to increase our faith. Right?
Yeah, I hear you, but it's kind of a catch-22 for me. Basically, you need to read to get faith, but you need to have faith to read. So it's kind of a catch-22 for me. So
yeah,
I get you.
But Shravanam Kirtanam is the medicine. So whether it tastes bitter or sweet, medicine should be taken. Right? So some little seriousness has to be there, that we take the medicine. Even if we don't have attraction and taste, but still we know this is the medicine to get healthy. Rupa Goswami says, when we have jaundice, even the sweets taste bitter, but the remedy is to take every day a little bit of sugar candy. And then sooner or later the sweet taste awakens. So, yeah. But also seeing so many wonderful examples of amazing devotees in our society, that in itself also gives faith that yes, it is possible.
And I don't want to extend this, but I don't want to take away everybody's time. Like you said, there is examples of good examples with the devotees, but also there are examples where, like, defeat the faith, right? Like, there are other examples in the world, I'm not saying here, but there are other examples, other atrocities that are happening that really question your faith. Like, is he really there?
Yeah, but if we look a little deeper, then actually they do strengthen our faith in the process. Like, often people say to me, oh, you know, you were the third guru, my God, how do you have faith? But actually, you know, these situations, they increased my faith in the process of devotional service, because you can't hide, you can't cheat Krishna. Sooner or later, we are exposed.
Yeah, you are already on the path, you have faith that increases. For a person like me, it's a deterrent. I'm not questioning it, but I'm just telling you what
No,
it's
but
like.
anybody can see it like that, even if you don't have so much faith. But just to look at it from a different angle and say, yes, just see. You know, the process of devotional service is so scientific. You can't fool Krishna. You may be able to fool so many devotees, but Krishna you can't fool. And sooner or later he will expose what's really happening in the heart. And after all, the Bhagavatam is full of stories of great personalities falling down. You know, that's another angle of vision, that what is a fall down? It's just a tiny little detour, but you know, the process is continuing, you know. So yeah, it just depends on the vision. And again, we need a mentor. We need a counselor who can help us to cultivate that vision. You know? Yeah. Okay. What else?
But the forgiveness, with forgiveness, they say forgive and forget. So, do we do that?
Well, not necessarily. I would more say forgive and let go.
But learn your lesson.
Yeah. Forgive and let go is maybe better than forgive and forget. Yeah, we do have that saying, forgive and forget. But I dare say, you know, we can understand the forget in this way and in that way. Forget about it, meaning let go. And not actually that you forget. You know what I mean? The way we use forget is also in that sense, that just forget about it. Let go. You know?
Because I usually see myself in situations where I really forget about it and I do the same thing again.
Yeah, well, no, we should learn our lessons. You know, definitely. Yes.
Thank you.
Hi Krishna Mataji, thank you so much for this wonderful session. So Mataji, this forgiveness, you said it's internal, and then so how, even if we like suppress, but like how it sometimes it will be again knocking us whenever we see the person or some incident, how can we, totally let it go?
Well, as we said, suppressing is not the answer. You know, we shouldn't simply suppress. But if we use these two tools of reminding ourselves that actually I deserve so much worse, but Krishna only gives me a little drop of what I really deserve. And if we try to see what is Krishna trying to teach me, you know, if we remember these two tools and we keep working on internalizing them, you know, it may be a process. It may not be just from one day to the other. So that's why I'm saying it's an internal work we have to do. It's an internal process. So I dare say if we just keep on working on with these two tools, to try, because ultimately it is a question of false ego. Ultimately, it's a lack of humility behind it, a lack of tolerance. That's behind it if we can't forgive. A lack of tolerance. So the first step in all these more subtle things is always to hear about it. That's why I like to discuss them. That we hear, how is it connected? And that we get that knowledge, and that we desire to develop the right qualities, and that we do that internal work. I mean, yesterday we were maybe not mentioning it, but first day, you were there first day also, and we. So a good remedy is also again to cry out to Lord Nishingadev. We mentioned the 5 steps there, because ultimately it's the false ego. It's the problem. So Lord Nishingadev, he can uproot it. So we can add that to the 2 tools, to cry out to Lord Nishingadev and beg him to uproot our false ego, because that's the root cause. False ego keeps hanging on to wanting revenge and keeping the grudge, and it's false ego, nothing else. Yes. All right.
Mataji, surprise is like the pressure cooker. It will burst.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Suppressing is never the answer to anything. All right, anything else? Can somebody quickly pass me this book? I have the feeling that there's a few people here who I have not met before, so I hope, with your permission, I will mention a few little words about each book, hoping that some of you would like to get some. Spiritual culture, Krishna's divine system. This is all about the man-woman dynamics. That man-woman are very, very different. The equality is there on the level of the soul, but on the level of the body, so different. Actually, whenever Prabhupada was asked, are men and women equal, by the reporters here in America, Prabhupada's answer was always, woman gives birth to children, man cannot. How can they be equal? Yes, that was Prabhupada's answer. Very down to earth and practical, hard to defeat. Yes, so very interesting how actually Krishna puts the right qualities in the gross and subtle body of man and woman, just to inspire them to play the roles they're meant to play. And of course, when we read this book, we realize how far away we are from Krishna's system in some aspects. And at the same time, we realize that all our social problems we are facing in modern society, inside ISKCON and outside ISKCON, they're actually a result of not following Krishna's system. Very eye-opening. Actually, in India, many temples, they use this book as a handbook for brahmachari training, even though the whole book is about women. Like Puni, Chaupadi, they all have this book in the brahmachari ashram. Even in US too, in New York and LA and so on. Yes. And of course, on a practical level, very helpful for married life, because we women have such a powerful energy. We can bring the very best out of a man, or we can ruin his life. That's the power of a woman. Yes, no, seriously. Yeah, it is. Yeah. So I highly recommend it. It has saved and improved a lot of marriages already. So any woman who wants to have harmonious relationships with men in her life, you should check it out. And every man who wants to get the support and the empowerment of a woman should also check it out.
Have your wife to read it.
Huh?
Have your wife to read it.
But you should read it too. Because it also re-establishes the honor and respect a woman should be given.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's important. Mutual process.
Sheltering relationships, this is all about the importance of having a counselor or mentor. When you read this, you will be clear that without having a counselor and eventually becoming one to others, we actually cannot make advancement. And there's also a chapter on envy in it, what we discussed in the first session, how it manifests towards seniors equals juniors, the culture of correcting others, culture of respect, so many important things. And any marriage problem can be solved if both are willing to accept guidance and work on themselves rather than blaming others. That's usually what happens. False ego, we blame, he blames her, she blames him, and then nothing changes. Then false ego, our constant companion and troublemaker. Yesterday we had a session on this. Also today, as you saw, forgiveness is also in this book. And there's so many more things, all kinds of rules of Vaishnava etiquette that help us to dissolve the false ego. And there's a whole chapter on chanting the holy name in japa and kirtan, so it actually dissolves the false ego instead of boosting and feeding it. Kirtan can be a good opportunity to boost and feed the false ego. Entering the Grihastha, this is a handbook for matchmaking, how to see that a boy and a girl are matching for marriage. Because especially coming from Indian background, people often look mainly at caste and money and nothing much else. But there's so many other levels of compatibility which we have to consider. So you will find over 200 topics in this book which should be discussed with a cool head, without pink glasses. That's why I made it pink. Because the pink glasses, we can't see what we get ourselves into. And then after 2 years, pink glasses wear off, and then we realize, we are not matching. Yeah. And these 200 topics, it's not that I came up with it. Actually, they're used in Bhaktivedanta Manor in London. Huge community with a big Indian congregation, and they have a very well-functioning matchmaking committee. From them I got the rest. And then we have family life as an ashram, secrets of success. How to create this culture of bhakti in our family life. How to spiritualize our home life. Yeah. And then the children very naturally will grow into Krishna consciousness. So you may think, well, I'm done with family life, but maybe for your children it may be helpful. And there's also a whole chapter on physical intimacy in marriage, how to live this principle of no illicit sex life, which is also a bit of a, there's a bit of confusion over this, and nobody talks about it, and people are at a loss often how to make things work. So I did quite a bit of research, and I came across interesting episodes with Prabhupada, where he says things which people have not heard that much yet. And that adds a bit of a different perspective to the whole talk. And last but not least, the Vanaprastha Ashram. Looking here at my audience, I feel this is extremely relevant for many of us here. And there's a whole chapter on death, meeting death with joy. That's the ultimate goal of the Vanaprastha Ashram and Krishna consciousness altogether. So I'm getting into all different details about death, what happens there in the subtle platform, and how to prepare, how to support others. I have supported quite a few people in this last 2 weeks. It's a very crucial and important time. So we have to educate ourselves. What's the use of all our preaching if we don't know how to support people in this last phase? Our whole life We need good association, and especially in this last phase of life, we need good association, very important. So there's a lot of different practical things, how to plan our phase of retirement from family life, and how to get out of our palace and accept a more simple life again, simplifying our life to deepen our absorption so we can remember Krishna when we face life. So if any of you would like to get some books, the last 4 books are $20 each. The first 2 are $15. Many people already got the whole set. There's a little discount for the set, $100 for the whole lot. So now you may see, oh, and by the way, I forgot to say this.